ever witnessed? That moment when someone's snap judgment completely blows up in their face. Picture this, a crowded boarding gate at LAX, the air thick with impatience. A young black teenager, barely out of high school, politely asks for help with her carry-on. Snickers ripple through the first-class line. Eye rolls are exchanged. Kids these days, a woman mutters loud enough to be heard. But what they don't know is that this quiet teen isn't just any passenger. She's about to show them a lesson in humility they'll never forget with a simple, almost silent gesture that will unravel their arrogance thread by thread. The fluorescent lights of Los Angeles International Airport, LAX Terminal 4, hummed with a relentless, indifferent energy. Gate 42B, serving ascend, Air Flight 212 to New York. JFK was a microcosm of societal strata, a chaotic ballet of hurried travelers. Amara Washington, 17, clutched her backpack strap with one hand and maneuvered her slightly oversized, sleek black carry-on with the other. It wasn't heavy, just awkwardly shaped due to the sensitive equipment nestled within equipment that was her life's work, or at least the beginning of it. She wore simple black leggings, a hoodie from her high school's robotics club, and well-worn sneakers. Her hair was pulled back in neat braids, and behind her glasses her eyes, calm and observant, took in the scene. She was flying solo, a prospect that was more exciting than daunting. This trip was a big deal. The call for first class and premium passengers had just been made. A self-important-looking couple, somewhere in their late 40s, elbowed their way to the front of the Zone 1 line, nearly clipping Amara's bag. The woman dripping in designer logos that screamed new money rather than old elegance shot Amara a disdainful look, as if her mere presence near the priority lane was an affront. Her name tag, conspicuously displayed on her Louis Vuitton tote, read Karen Masterson, lifestyle influencer. Her husband, a man whose expression suggested he'd long ago surrendered to his wife's whims, trailed in her wake a phone. Ping Mu glued to his face. Let's call him Chad. Amara, unfazed, waited for her zone to be called. When Zone 3 was announced, she joined the throng. The overhead bin space, as always, was a battlefield. She found a spot above her assigned seat, 15C, an aisle seat in the Economy Plus section, a small upgrade her mom had insisted on. The bag with its precious contents needed to go in wheels first, but the angle was tricky. She tried once, then twice her 5'5" frame, struggling to get the necessary leverage. "Excuse me," she said politely to a burly man in a business suit, shoving his own roller bag with forceful abandon into the bin across the aisle. "Could you possibly give me a hand with this for a second?" The man grunted without looking at her, slamming his bin shut. "Everyone for themselves, kid." Amara blinked, then tried again. Her bag snagged. From a few rows ahead in the plush comfort of first class, Karen Masterson's voice, sharp and grating, cut through the cabin noise. "Oh, for goodness sake, can't anyone pack their own bags anymore? If you can't lift it, don't bring it. Some people just have no consideration." Chad chuckled beside her, a short barking sound. "Probably full of TikTok props, honey." Amara's cheeks warmed, but she kept her composure. A flight attendant, Brenda mid-30s with a professionally plastered smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, bustled past. "Ma'am?" Amara asked, her voice still quiet but clear. "Could I trouble you for some assistance?" Brenda paused, her eyes flicking over Amara from her hoodie to her sneakers, then to the bag. "Honey, we're supposed to help those who need it, like the elderly or disabled. It's just a bag. Give it a good shove." Her smile tightened. Then she moved on her attention, already on a passenger in a premium seat, complaining about their pre-departure orange juice. The message was clear. You don't look like you belong here, and you certainly don't look important enough for my help. A wave of frustration, mixed with a familiar weariness, washed over Amara. It wasn't just about the bag. It was the casual dismissal, the snap judgments she'd faced countless times in countless situations, from advanced placement classes to robotics competitions. She was tired of having to prove herself at every turn. Taking a deep breath, Amara adjusted her grip. This time she noticed a small, almost imperceptible lever on the side of her bag, a new feature she'd been testing. She pressed it. With a soft hydraulic hiss, tiny, almost invisible rollers deployed from the base, angling the bag perfectly. With a gentle push, it slid smoothly into the bin. She closed the compartment with a soft click. A few passengers who had been watching the minor struggle with mild amusement or irritation looked momentarily surprised at the bag's sudden cooperation. Karen Masterson, however, who had twisted in her seat to observe Amara's presumed incompetence, let out an exaggerated sigh. Finally. Now maybe we can actually take off on time. Some people really need to learn basic travel etiquette. She turned to Chad. Imagine if everyone held us up like that. Amara settled into seat 15C. The man in 15A, a kindly-looking older gentleman with a newspaper, gave her a sympathetic half-smile. The woman in 15B, engrossed in a paperback, hadn't noticed a thing. Amara pulled out her tablet and a slim, unassuming notebook. The flight was long, and she had work to do. But a small, resolute spark had ignited within her. Usually she'd let such microaggressions slide. It was easier, less confrontational. But Brenda's comment, Karen's audible disdain, the businessman's grunt, it all coalesced into a decision. Not today. She didn't need to be loud. She didn't need to be dramatic. She just needed to be herself. As the plane finished boarding and the cabin doors were secured, Brenda began her safety demonstration. Amara watched her expression unreadable. The initial sting of the dismissals had faded, replaced by a calm resolve. The little hydraulic lever on her bag was just a tiny part of a much bigger innovation. An innovation that Ascendair, this very airline, was banking on. The irony wasn't lost on her. The ascent was smooth, and soon the sprawling quilt of Los Angeles gave way to the azure expanse of the Pacific before the plane banked eastward. Beverage service began. When Brenda reached Amara's row, her professional smile was firmly in place. "Anything to drink for you, honey?" she asked, her tone unchanged from the boarding gate. "Just some water, please," Amara replied, her voice even. As Brenda handed her the plastic cup, Amara made her move. It wasn't aggressive, merely a matter-of-fact gesture. She reached into her backpack and pulled out a sleek black leather lanyard. Attached to it was a badge. Not just any badge. It was an Ascendair VIP Founders Circle identification. Her photo was clearly visible, along with her name, Amara Washington. Below it, in bold letters, Aeroglide Innovations, CEO and lead developer. And in smaller print, strategic partner to Ascendair Global. Amara didn't flourish it. She didn't wave it around. She simply clipped it onto the collar of her hoodie. Then she picked up her water, took a sip, and returned to the complex algorithms on her tablet screen. Brenda, however, had frozen mid-aisle, her eyes trained to spot elite status indicators, gold medallions, platinum cards, widened almost imperceptibly as they registered the unique, rarely seen Founder's Circle badge. It was a special designation given only to individuals whose companies had entered into transformative, high-value partnerships with the airline, or who were pioneers in aviation technology that Ascend Air was adopting. These weren't just frequent flyers. These were people who shaped the airline's future. Her mind replayed the boarding gate encounter, Amara's polite request, her own dismissive response. "We're supposed to help those who need it." The words echoed with a new horrifying resonance. She'd brushed off not just a passenger, but someone whose innovative work was currently being lauded in Ascend Air's internal executive briefings as a game-changer for logistics and customer experience. Aeroglide's AI-driven baggage handling and tracking system, promising to virtually eliminate lost luggage and streamline ground operations, was the talk of the company. Brenda's professional smile faltered, a flicker of genuine panic crossing her features. She looked at Amara again, truly seeing her this time. The intense focus, the quiet confidence that she had mistaken for teenage awkwardness. The hoodie and sneakers suddenly seemed less like student attire and more like the unpretentious uniform of a young tech prodigy who cared more about her work than about designer labels. The flight attendant swallowed her throat suddenly dry. She wanted to apologize to say something, but Amara was engrossed in her work, seemingly oblivious to the internal turmoil she had just unleashed. Or perhaps Brenda suspected with a dawning, chilling understanding. Amara was very aware. Further up in first class, Karen Masterson was complaining to another flight attendant about the temperature of her white wine. "It's practically lukewarm. For these prices, one expects a certain standard, don't you think?" The kindly gentleman in 15A, Mr. Henderson, who had been discreetly observing Amara, had also noticed the badge. He was a retired aerospace engineer, and while he didn't recognize the Aeroglide name immediately, the Founder's Circle designation spoke volumes. He'd seen those badges maybe twice in 20 years of consistent first-class travel. He gave Amara a look of newfound respect. The cabin hummed along, but for Brenda, the atmosphere had shifted dramatically. Every so often, her gaze would drift back to 15C, to the unassuming girl with the powerful badge. She recalled the memo about the upcoming Aeroglide trial at JFK and LAX, the multi-million-dollar investment Ascend Air had poured into it. The CEO of Ascend Air himself, a Mr. Davies, had personally championed the partnership. Brenda quickly finished the beverage service in her section, her usual efficiency now tinged with a nervous energy. She needed to speak to the purser Susan, and she needed to do it before this young woman, this Founder, decided to make a formal complaint. Her career could hinge on this. Meanwhile, Amara continued to work. The algorithms for the new generation of self-tagging, self-sorting luggage, the very system her awkward carry-on was a prototype for, needed final stress testing simulations. The irony of struggling with her own advanced baggage was not lost on her, but the incident had provided unexpected real-world data points on human interaction and assumptions, which in a way was just as valuable. Her phone switched to airplane mode, but connected to the plane's Wi-Fi for her secure network. Access buzzed silently with an incoming encrypted message from her lead engineer, LAX ground crew confirmed. Prototype bin sensors picked up unusual stress on your bag's frame during manual loading attempt. Lever deployment successful. Data stream looks good. Small victory, boss. Amara permitted herself a tiny smile. Small victories, and sometimes quiet statements. The real test, she knew, wasn't just the technology. It was overcoming the outdated perceptions and biases that often stood in the way of progress. And today on Ascend Air Flight 212, That test was playing out in more ways than one. Brenda made a beeline for the galley, where Susan, the flight purser, was reconciling her service counts. Susan was a veteran with 30 years in the skies, a no-nonsense woman who had seen it all. "Susan." "We have a situation," Brenda said, her voice low and urgent. Susan raised an eyebrow. "What kind of situation? Drunk and disorderly in 3B, again?" "Worse. Potentially much worse for me." "Remember the Aeroglide briefing? The new AI baggage system?" "Vaguely. Young tech genius, big contract. Why?" "She's on board. Seat 15C, Amara, Washington. And I think I seriously messed up during boarding." Brenda quickly recounted the incident, her dismissive remarks the assumption she'd made based on Amara's appearance. "She's wearing a Founder's Circle badge now, right there on her hoodie." Susan's expression sharpened. "A Founder's Circle? Are you sure those were rarer than hen's teeth?" "Describe it." Brenda did, and Susan's eyes narrowed further. "Okay, that's significant. What was her reaction when you saw the badge?" "Nothing. She just put it on and went back to her tablet, like she was just letting me see it, letting me realize." Brenda wrung her hands. "Susan, Mr. Davies is personally overseeing the Aeroglide integration. If she complains about unprofessional conduct..." Susan nodded slowly. "All right, stay calm. First, let's verify. I'll do a walkthrough. You continue your duties, be impeccably professional, especially around her row. Don't be overly solicitous. That'll look suspicious. Just correct." A few minutes later, Susan strolled casually down the aisle, ostensibly checking on passenger comfort. As she passed row 15, her gaze lingered for a professional moment on Amara. The badge was clearly visible. The name, the company, the designation. It all matched the high-level intel they'd received. Susan's internal alarm bells, honed by decades of experience, began to ring. This wasn't just a VIP. This was someone pivotal to the airline's future strategy. An insult to her could have ripple effects far beyond a customer service complaint. She continued her walk-through, then returned to the galley. "You're right," she told Brenda, her voice grim. "It's her. And she definitely heard that woman in first the influencer, Karen Masterson." "Oh no," Brenda whispered. "Masterson was loud and rude." "Masterson is always loud and rude," Susan said wryly. But this time her rudeness was directed at someone who could probably buy and sell her entire lifestyle with a rounding error on a contract. Just then the plane hit a patch of unexpected turbulence. The seatbelt sign pinged on, and an announcement came from the cockpit advising passengers and crew to take their seats. For the next 10 minutes, the aircraft bucked and swayed, not dangerously, but enough to unsettle stomachs and fray nerves. Karen Masterson, predictably, was the most vocal. "This is outrageous. I fly first class to avoid being tossed around like a rag doll." "Can't the pilot see where he's going?" she exclaimed, loud enough for half the cabin to hear. Chad patted her arm uselessly, muttering, there, sweetie." Amara, despite the jolts, remained focused on her tablet, occasionally bracing it as the plane dipped. She seemed more annoyed by the interruption to her work than by the turbulence itself. When the air smoothed out and the seatbelt sign was switched off, Susan decided it was time for some proactive damage control. She approached Amara's seat. "Ms. Washington." She began, her tone respectful and warm. "My name is Susan. I'm the purser on this flight. I just wanted to personally welcome you aboard and ensure everything is to your satisfaction." Amara looked up, offering a polite, small smile. "Thank you, Susan. Everything is fine. I also wanted to sincerely apologize if your boarding experience was anything less than stellar." Susan continued, choosing her words carefully. Ascend Air prides itself on exceptional service for all our passengers, and particularly for our valued partners like yourself and Aeroglide Innovations. Brenda, who had been hovering anxiously nearby, flinched at the direct mention. Amara's gaze shifted to Brenda for a fleeting moment, then back to Susan. "Boarding was illuminating," she said, a slight emphasis on the word. "It provided some useful insights." Susan understood the coded message. This young woman missed nothing. "Well, I hope the rest of your journey is smooth and productive. Please don't hesitate to let me or any member of the crew know if there's anything at all you need." "Thank you. I will," Amara said, then returned to her tablet. The interaction was brief, polite, but the underlying currents were palpable. Meanwhile, Karen Masterson was not done. Having been momentarily silenced by the turbulence, she now resumed her complaints, this time to Brenda, who had the misfortune of passing by. "Flight attendant. This turbulence was unacceptable. I expect some form of compensation, miles a voucher, something. And that girl back there," she gestured vaguely towards Amara's section, "the one who took forever with her bag. She should be in basic economy, not holding up passengers who've actually paid for priority." Brenda, now acutely aware of who that girl was, felt a cold dread. "Ma'am, turbulence is a natural occurrence, and the captain navigated it expertly. As for other passengers, everyone is seated according to their ticket." "Ticket?" Karen scoffed. "She looks like she snuck on. And what's with that ridiculous badge she put on? Probably bought it on Etsy. Some people are so desperate for attention." She pulled out her phone. "My followers are going to hear all about the abysmal service on Ascend Air today. All of it." She started filming, narrating in a loud, aggrieved whisper about the subpar experience and the clearly unqualified passengers being allowed to delay things. Amara, though seemingly engrossed, subtly angled her own phone, which was propped against her water bottle. Its camera was also on, discreetly recording Karen's tirade, capturing the audio with crystal clarity, thanks to the noise-cancelling microphone array it used, another piece of Aeroglide tech she was field testing. Mr. Henderson in 15A leaned slightly towards Amara. "Don't let her bother you, young lady," he murmured. "Some people mistake arrogance for importance." Amara gave him a grateful smile. "Thank you, sir. I appreciate that." The flight continued, a quiet tension simmering beneath the surface. Susan had a hushed conversation with the captain, apprising him of the Founders Circle passenger and the potential for fallout from the behavior of both Brenda and Karen Masterson. The captain, a stoic man named Miller, listened intently. He understood the implications. An airline's reputation, especially with a key tech partner, was paramount. As they began their descent into JFK, Susan made a final pass. She offered Amara a bottle of premium water and a small tin of artisanal chocolates from the first-class service. "Ms. Washington, on behalf of Captain Miller and the entire crew, we hope you've had a comfortable flight, despite the earlier turbulence. We're very excited about the Aeroglide partnership at Ascend Air." "Thank you, Susan. The flight has been quite productive," Amara replied, her expression neutral. She accepted the water and chocolates with a nod. The stage was set. The drama wasn't over. It was merely transitioning to its next act on the ground. and calmer Amara knew often had a flight path of its own. The descent into New York JFK was initially smooth, a gentle glide path over the sprawling boroughs. Amara Washington watched the city lights emerge like a vast, glittering circuit board beneath the clouds, her mind already shifting towards the important Aeroglide presentation ahead. Beside her, the kindly Mr. Henderson was engrossed in his newspaper, while the woman in the window seat was asleep. The cabin was filled with the usual pre-landing Russell laptops being stowed, seatbacks returned to their upright positions, a sense of collective anticipation. This relative calm, however, was punctuated by intermittent pronouncements from first class. Karen Masterson. Having apparently recovered from the earlier turbulence, and her wine temperature woes, was already curating her arrival narrative for her online audience. Her voice, though slightly lower than mid-flight, still carried. "Almost there, my darlings," she cooed into her phone, which was mounted on a small, ostentatious tripod attached to her tray table. "Touchdown in the Big Apple soon. Can't wait to escape this experience. Honestly, the trials I endure for you. But first, a word with the management about the appalling service. Some people just aren't cut out for customer-facing roles, if you catch my drift." She punctuated this with a theatrical wink at her camera. Chad beside her offered a weak, supportive murmur. His own phone held aloft, as if to capture B-roll footage of his wife's influencer journey. Amara felt a familiar tightening in her chest, not of anger, but of a weary resignation that such self-absorption existed so brazenly. She focused on her breathing, a technique she used before important presentations, and mentally reviewed her opening remarks for the Ascend Air executives. The plane bumped gently onto the runway, the roar of the reverse thrusters momentarily drowning out even Karen. As they taxied towards the terminal, the cabin crew went through their arrival procedures. Flight attendant, Brenda. Her face still pale, but her composure regained, caught Amara's eye briefly, and offered a small, hesitant smile, which Amara returned with a neutral but not unkind nod. The unspoken understanding was there. The moment the seatbelt sign dinged off, it was a barely controlled stampede. Karen Masterson naturally was at the forefront of those pushing into the aisle, her designer luggage bumping against other passengers. "Excuse me. Coming through VIP here, people." "Some of us have places to be," she announced, as if the entire aircraft should part ways for her. As Amara patiently waited her turn, Susan the purser appeared by her row, her expression a well-practiced blend of efficiency and warmth. "Ms. Washington," she said, her voice discreet. "We're docked at gate C-32. I've arranged for a tarmac transfer for you directly from the aircraft stairs, if you'd prefer. It will bypass the terminal crush and take you straight to your arranged ground transport or connecting flight." This was an exceptional offer, a clear indication of the airline's desire to smooth things over and acknowledge her status. Amara considered it for a moment. The efficiency was tempting, but then a flicker of something else, curiosity. A desire for closure made her pause. She glanced towards the front of the plane, where Karen was already loudly directing Chad to retrieve her various bags from the overhead. "Thank you, Susan. That's incredibly thoughtful of Ascend Air," Amara replied, her voice soft but clear. "However, I think I'll deplane with everyone else today. My meeting is actually within the terminal complex and, well, I wouldn't want to miss any of the authentic New York arrival experience." A tiny, almost imperceptible smile played on her lips. Susan, a veteran of interpreting the unspoken, caught the nuance immediately. Her eyes twinkled with understanding. As you wish, Ms. Washington. It can certainly be memorable. She stepped aside slightly, then paused. Brenda has something she'd like to say to you if you have a moment. Brenda approached, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. Her professional mask had slipped, revealing genuine anxiety and a deep-seated shame. Ms. Washington, she began, her voice trembling slightly, I need to offer you my sincerest, most profound apology. My behavior during boarding was inexcusable. I made assumptions. I was unprofessional, dismissive, and frankly, I failed at my job. There's no excuse for it. Seeing your badge, it wasn't just about your status. It was about how wrong I was, how blind. I am truly deeply sorry for the disrespect I showed you. Her eyes were glistening. Amara looked at Brenda, seeing not just a flight attendant who had wronged her, but a human being who had made a mistake and was now facing the consequences of that realization. Thank you, Brenda. Amara said, her tone gentle but firm. I appreciate your apology, and I accept it. Everyone has off days, and everyone is capable of misjudgment. What defines us is whether we learn from those moments and strive to do better. I hope this will be a learning experience for you. Relief washed over Brenda's face, so potent it was almost palpable. Yes, Ms. Washington. Absolutely. It already has been. Thank you. She stepped back, visibly lighter, as Amara retrieved her sleek black carry-on, this time with the effortless grace of its designer, and joined the slow procession towards the exit. The jet bridge was a brightly lit tunnel, humming with the indistinct chatter of disembarking passengers. But at its mouth, where it connected to the bustling terminal, stood a small, official-looking group that brought a hush to the immediate vicinity. Two uniformed Ascendair ground managers, their postures radiating quiet authority, flanked a woman in a sharply tailored navy suit. Her Ascendair executive name badge read Eleanor Vance, Vice President, Customer Experience and Strategic Alliances. Her expression was one of polite, unwavering steel. Amara recognized her name and face instantly from the countless high-level project emails and video conferences regarding the Aeroglide integration. This was no ordinary meet and greet. Karen Masterson, of course, was among the first to reach them, Chad scurrying in her wake like an anxious squire. She clearly mistook them for a special welcoming committee arranged for her, or perhaps an instant complaint resolution squad. Finally, Karen exclaimed, beaming triumphantly at Ms. Vance. Took you long enough. I'm Karen Masterson. I trust you're here to discuss the absolutely atrocious service on Flight 212. I have a list of grievances, and my followers. She tapped her phone, which was naturally recording, are very interested in how Ascendair handles elite customer feedback. Ms. Vance's polite smile did not waver, nor did it reach her eyes. Mrs. Karen Masterson. She confirmed, her voice, perfectly modulated, carrying easily over the terminal noise. The one and only, Karen said, preening. Indeed, Ms. Vance replied, a subtle coolness underscoring the word. We are here to discuss your journey on Flight 212. My name is Eleanor Vance, Vice President at Ascendair. We have, in fact, been made aware of several serious issues pertaining to your conduct, Mrs. Masterson. Karen's triumphant expression faltered, replaced by a flicker of confusion, then annoyance. My conduct. I think you mean the crew's conduct. I was a model passenger under extreme duress. Chad chimed in, his voice a nervous squeak. That's right. My wife is a very important influencer. She has over 500,000 followers. You should be apologizing to her. Ms. Vance's gaze remained fixed on Karen. Mrs. Masterson. Ascendair has a zero-tolerance policy for verbal harassment of fellow passengers, disruptive behavior that interferes with crew duties, and a consistent pattern of conduct intended to intimidate or extract unwarranted compensation. During Flight 212, we have documented instances of your loud and abusive language towards cabin crew. Your disparaging remarks about other passengers made within their hearing, and your deliberate attempts to disrupt the service flow, not to mention your histrionics during a period of minor turbulence, which necessitated crew members diverting attention from safety protocols. Karen's jaw tightened. That slander! How dare you? Those were legitimate complaints. That girl in economy, plus with the oversized bag held everyone up, and that flight attendant was rude to me. First, the girl in economy, plus, as you so dismissively term her. Ms. Vance said, her voice dropping slightly, becoming even more precise, is Ms. Amara Washington, CEO of Aeroglide Innovations, a key strategic partner to this airline, whose technology, ironically, you will soon benefit from every time you fly with any modern carrier. And she was, by all accounts, including multiple witness statements and audio-visual records, nothing but polite. The only rudeness documented, Mrs. Masterson, originated from your vicinity. Ms. Vance continued, her gaze unyielding, as Karen's face began to pale. Furthermore, this is not an isolated incident. Our records show a disturbing pattern over your last 7 flights with Ascendair, and our alliance partners' multiple unsubstantiated complaints, demands for upgrades and full refunds based on exaggerated or fabricated issues, and aggressive behavior towards staff when these demands were not met. We have reviewed extensive evidence related to today's flight, Mrs. Masterson. This includes detailed reports from the captain and entire cabin crew, statements from several other passengers who volunteered them, and most comprehensively the complete, unedited footage from your own social media live stream, which you so helpfully broadcast. A ghost of a smile touched Ms. Vance's lips. We also have access to other recordings of a rather higher fidelity. Karen's bravado began to visibly crumble. Recordings my live stream. You can't use that against me. On the contrary, Mrs. Masterson, Ms. Vance stated, her tone becoming glacially formal. It forms part of a substantial body of evidence. As a result of your consistent and egregious violations of Ascendair's conditions of carriage and passenger conduct policies, the following actions are effective immediately. Your Ascendair advantage. Diamond Elite status is permanently revoked. All accrued miles and benefits therein are forfeited. Furthermore, you, Karen Masterson, are hereby banned from travel on Ascendair and all its Star Alliance partner airlines for a period of 2 years. This decision is final and not subject to appeal. Attempting to circumvent this ban will result in further action. The color drained completely from Karen's face, leaving it a mottled canvas of disbelief and dawning terror. Banned. You can't ban me. I'll sue you. I'll sue Ascend, into the ground. I'll tell every single one of my followers. I'll destroy your reputation. Her voice rose, cracking with hysteria. Chad looked like he was about to faint. Ms. Vance remained unmoved. That is your prerogative, Mrs. Masterson. However, should you choose to engage in public defamation of Ascendair based on false or misleading claims, please be advised that Ascendair is fully prepared to release its own comprehensive, unedited evidence portfolio to the public domain. This will include all relevant audio-visual materials, witness depositions, and a detailed history of your interactions with our airline. We believe the unvarnished truth will speak for itself. It was at this precise moment that Ms. Vance allowed her gaze to shift just for a second over Karen's shoulder towards where Amara Washington was now standing, observing the proceedings with a quiet, almost academic interest. Her founder's circle badge with the Ascend Air logo prominently displayed alongside Aeroglide Innovations, CEO, gleamed softly under the bright terminal lights. Karen, her eyes darting wildly, followed Ms. Vance's fleeting glance. Her gaze locked onto Amara, then onto the badge. The complex series of expressions that flitted across Karen's face was a sight to behold: confusion, then a flicker of vague recognition, then a slow, horrifying wave of comprehension. Her mouth fell open. The Etsy badge. The girl who looked like she snuck on. The target of her disdain. The VIP founder. The architect of the very technology Ascend Air was championing. "You," Karen whispered, pointing a trembling finger at Amara. That badge, you're with them. You're the tech person." The full weight of her misjudgment, her public arrogance, and the power of the quiet teenager she had belittled crashed down upon her. It was as if she was seeing Amara for the first time, not as an insignificant annoyance, but as the catalyst for her own spectacular downfall. Mr. Henderson, who had deplaned and was watching from a slight distance, gave a slow, deliberate nod of profound satisfaction towards Ms. Vance. Other passengers, sensing the dramatic climax of an onboard drama they had only partially witnessed, lingered, their expressions ranging from stunned silence to barely concealed smirks. Two uniformed airport police officers, who had been standing discreetly nearby, now stepped forward, their presence professional but unshakable. "Mrs. Masterson," one of them said, calmly but firmly, "we'll escort you to baggage claim, and then to the landside exit. Please come with us." Karen's fight seemed to drain out of her, replaced by a deflated, bewildered despair. Her phone, still clutched in her trembling hand, slipped from her grasp and clattered onto the polished floor. The screen spider-webbing into a dozen cracks. Her live stream, her connection to her carefully curated world, was brutally severed. Chad, pale and sweating, could only stammer, "But our luggage, our first-class lounge access, your checked luggage will be available at the carousel." "Sir," Ms. Vance said to him coolly. "Your lounge access, however, is no longer valid." As Karen was gently but inexorably guided away by the officers, a lost, pathetic figure muttering about injustice and conspiracies. One of the Ascend Air ground managers stepped towards Amara. "Ms. Washington, Mr. Davies, our CEO, is eagerly awaiting your arrival in the Concourse C Conference Center. Your Aeroglide team is already there. Please allow me to escort you, and please accept our sincere apologies that you had to witness such an unfortunate display." Ms. Vance joined them, her stern enforcer demeanor instantly replaced by one of warm, genuine professional respect as she addressed Amara. "Ms. Washington, I cannot apologize enough for the behavior you were subjected to on this flight. It is antithetical to everything Ascend Air stands for. Your composure was extraordinary. We are immensely grateful for your understanding and your partnership. Please rest assured this incident will be a catalyst for further internal training and reinforcement of our service ethos." Amara met Ms. Vance's gaze. "Thank you, Ms. Vance. I appreciate Ascend Air's swift and decisive handling of the situation, direct feedback and clear consequences are always valuable. And I must say, she added a thoughtful expression on her face. Flight attendant Brenda expressed very sincere remorse and apologized personally. I believe she truly understood her error. A look of relief passed over Ms. Vance's face. That is heartening to hear, Ms. Washington. We value our crew, and we believe in learning and growth. She gestured down the concourse. Now let's get you to your team. They're excited to begin, and Mr. Davies is particularly keen to discuss the future. As they walked away from the rapidly dispersing crowd at Gate C32, Amara glanced back momentarily. The last she saw of Karen Masterson was a slumped figure being spoken to by the police officers near a customer service desk, her husband wringing his hands beside her. The vibrant, assertive influencer was gone, replaced by a portrait of public humiliation. Amara felt no malice, no glee, just a quiet sense of order restored. The karmic landing had been executed with precision. The journey from being underestimated and dismissed to being recognized and respected had been swift and, in its own way, illuminating. The world was complex, filled with all kinds of people. Her role, she felt with growing clarity, was to navigate it with integrity, to let her work speak, and to trust that truth, like gravity, would eventually assert itself. The real ascent was just beginning. The sterile opulence of the Ascend Air Executive Conference Room at JFK was a world away from the controlled chaos of the boarding gate. Here mahogany gleamed under recessed lighting, and the scent of expensive coffee mingled with an almost palpable air of anticipation. Amara Washington stood at the head of the vast table, not as a teenager who had recently fumbled with a bag, but as the poised CEO and lead developer of Aeroglide Innovations. Her team, a small, dedicated group of engineers and a sharp business development manager she'd flown in earlier, flanked a secondary display, their expressions a mixture of pride and nervous excitement. Across the table sat Liam Davies, Ascendair's formidable CEO, a man whose reputation for cutting-edge decisions was matched only by his intolerance for mediocrity. Surrounding him were the airline's top brass VPs of operations technology, customer experience, including a grateful Miss Vance, marketing and finance. They were the gatekeepers. The decision-makers whose collective nod could catapult Aeroglide into the stratosphere, or whose skepticism could ground it indefinitely. Amara began, her voice calm and clear, resonating with an understated authority that immediately commanded attention. She didn't rely on theatrics. Her currency was data innovation and a crystal-clear vision. She walked them through Aeroglide's genesis, from a high school science fair project, born of frustration with lost family luggage, to a sophisticated AI-driven ecosystem poised to redefine aviation logistics. The problem, Amara stated a slide depicting a tangled web of conventional baggage handling appearing behind her, isn't just lost bags. Its inefficiency wasted fuel, frustrated passengers, and a monumental data black hole. Aeroglide doesn't just track bags. It creates an intelligent, responsive, and transparent baggage journey. She then unveiled the full suite, the self-tagging kiosks that used facial recognition and predictive AI to streamline check-in, the Glide units, autonomous electric trolleys that navigated baggage halls with unparalleled precision, communicating with each other, and a central AI, the smart sensors embedded in cargo holds that monitored weight distribution and environmental conditions in real time, and of course her own prototype carry-on, the Aeroglide Personal Unit, which she now used to demonstrate its seamless integration. She pressed the familiar lever, the one that had drawn Karen Masterson's ire, and explained how the micro-hydraulics and angled omniwheels were designed for user ergonomics and optimal bin stowage, a small but significant detail reflecting Aeroglide's holistic approach. Every piece of luggage becomes an active, intelligent node in the network. She explained, her eyes scanning the room, meeting each executive's gaze. We're not just reducing lost luggage by a projected 98%. We're offering Ascend Air unprecedented operational oversight, predictive maintenance alerts for ground equipment, optimized loading for fuel efficiency, and a vastly enhanced, anxiety-free customer experience. The questions came sharp and incisive. The VP of Operations drilled down on integration with existing infrastructure. The CFO queried the ROI projections and scalability costs. The VP of Technology probed the cybersecurity measures. Amara handled each one with aplomb. Her answers backed by meticulously researched data complex simulations and the successful results from their smaller pilot programs at regional airports. Her team chimed in with technical specifics when needed, but it was Amara who orchestrated the flow, her deep understanding of every facet of her creation evident. When she concluded presenting a phased global rollout plan, culminating in Ascend Air, becoming the world's first intelligent luggage airline. A silence fell over the room. It wasn't the silence of doubt, but of absorption of minds, processing the sheer scope and elegance of the solution presented. Liam Davies was the first to speak, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Ms. Washington," he began, his voice resonating with genuine admiration. That was not just a presentation, that was a glimpse into the future of this industry. "Your technology is without a doubt revolutionary." He paused, then his expression softened slightly. "I also understand your journey here today had a rather turbulent start. Ms. Vance has fully briefed me on the incident during boarding. Your composure, your quiet dignity in the face of such unwarranted and frankly boorish behavior was, I'm told, as remarkable as your engineering prowess." Amara offered a slight, appreciative nod. "Thank you, Mr. Davies. I believe innovation thrives best in an environment of respect. Sometimes life provides unsolicited beta tests for one's patience." A ripple of knowing laughter went around the table. Davies chuckled. "Indeed. Well, consider that particular beta test passed with flying colors. Ascend Air is built on pillars of innovation and customer respect. What you experienced was an unacceptable lapse, and it's being addressed with the utmost seriousness. However, your reaction and the subsequent, shall we say, self-immolation of the offending party has inadvertently highlighted the very principles we champion." He stood, extending his hand across the table. "Amara Aeroglide isn't just a partner we want, you're a partner we need. Let's get these contracts finalized. Welcome officially to the Ascend Air family." As handshakes and congratulations filled the room, Amara felt a quiet surge of triumph, not just for the deal, but for the validation of her vision and her values. Vance approached her, her smile warm. Mr. Davies meant what he said. The ripple effects of what happened are already significant. She discreetly gestured to Amara's phone, which had been buzzing on silent periodically. Later, in the relative quiet of the new flagship Ascend Air lounge, a sleek, modern space that Davies was showing her with pointing out design elements inspired by early Aeroglide concept sketches she'd shared, Amara finally had a moment to check the digital pulse. The online world was a wildfire. Karen Masterson. Meltdown was the #1 trending topic globally. Her attempt at a live-streamed victim narrative had backfired spectacularly. Spliced clips of her shrieking about turbulence, her disdainful comments about Amara, Looks like she snuck on ridiculous Etsy badge, and her eventual ignominious escort by airport security were circulating virally. Juxtaposed against these were images of Amara's calm demeanor and, crucially, screenshots of her Ascend Air Founders Circle badge, often accompanied by captions like, "Don't judge a genius by her hoodie," or "The CEO in 15C. Memes were rampant, Karen's aghast face photoshopped onto disaster movie posters, Amara's badge depicted as a superhero emblem. More seriously, comments poured in from thousands who had experienced similar casual dismissals or prejudice. Amara became an unwitting icon for quiet competence and grace under pressure. Major brands that had aligned themselves with Karen's aspirational lifestyle were scrambling. Lux Leisure Wear tweeted, "We are dismayed by the recent conduct of Karen Masterson, which does not reflect our company values. Our partnership is terminated effective immediately." Sparkle Bright Cosmetics and Jet Set Java Coffee quickly followed suit. Her talent agency had reportedly dropped her. An old offensive tweet of Karen's from 2017 had resurfaced, adding fuel to the inferno. Her carefully constructed empire of entitlement was crumbling into digital dust. A hastily posted tearful apology video, filmed in what looked like a stark airport hotel room, was being mercilessly mocked for its perceived insincerity and grammatical errors. "She's more sorry she got caught than for what she did," was the prevailing sentiment. The contrast with Aeroglide's ascent was stark. News of Ascend Air's impending full partnership had leaked, and tech blogs and aviation journals were buzzing. Aeroglide Genius and #FutureOffLight were gaining traction. Ascend Air's stock had seen a noticeable uptick in after-hours trading. Meanwhile, the internal mechanisms at Ascend Air were also in motion. Flight attendant Brenda Amara learned through a discreet update from Ms. Vance had attended a lengthy debriefing. She had been genuinely remorseful, tearfully admitting her snap judgment and expressing profound regret. Susan the purser had advocated for Brenda, noting her otherwise good record and her visible distress and apology on the flight. Brenda was not fired, but was mandated to undergo an intensive month-long advanced customer relations and implicit bias training program, followed by a probationary period under Susan's direct supervision. An internal memo, carefully worded, but clearly referencing the recent incident on a transcontinental flight, was circulated to all Ascend Air staff, reiterating the paramount importance of unconditional respect for all passengers and the potential for unconscious bias to tarnish the airline's reputation and overlook valuable individuals. It emphasized that status is not always loudly proclaimed but is often quietly earned. A few days after returning to her Pasadena workshop, a sun-drenched, organized haven of whiteboards, 3D printers, and humming servers, Amara received an unexpected call. It was Mr. Henderson, the kindly gentleman from seat 15A. "Ms. Washington." "Amara, if I may." His voice was warm and enthusiastic. "I was more than just a casual observer on that flight. My career was in aerospace engineering, and now I run a private equity firm specializing in disruptive technologies. What I saw in you, your poise, your quiet confidence, was impressive. But what truly caught my attention, even before the grand reveal of your badge, was the intelligent design of your carry-on. I noticed the way you tried to stow it, the snag, and then that almost silent, elegant deployment of its assist mechanism. It spoke of thoughtful engineering." He continued, "I've since done my due diligence on Aeroglide innovations. Your patents are robust, your team is lean but formidable, and your vision is precisely what the industry needs. I'd like to discuss a significant Series B funding round. I believe Aeroglide is poised for exponential growth, and I want to be a part of that." They scheduled a meeting. Mr. Henderson wasn't just offering capital, he was offering mentorship connections and a shared passion for elegant solutions to complex problems. The flight had, in its own chaotic way, become the most effective investor pitch Amara hadn't even intended to make. Amara stood before her main whiteboard, where equations and schematics for the next generation of glide units mingled with notes on AI ethics. The incident on Flight 212 had been a catalyst, a stark reminder of the human element that technology, no matter how advanced, had to serve and navigate. She picked up a stylus and began sketching a new concept on a clean section of the board, an augmented reality overlay for flight crew smart glasses or visors. It wouldn't just display seat numbers and meal preferences. It would, with passenger consent gathered during booking, subtly highlight passengers with mobility issues, hidden disabilities, or even extreme anxiety about flying. It could discreetly flag a passenger like her former self, a young unaccompanied minor on a critical journey, perhaps needing a bit more proactive kindness. It wouldn't be about labeling, but about enabling empathy and preemptive dignified assistance. The system would learn, adapt, and provide a layer of information designed to bridge the gaps of perception and assumption. Project Insight. She jotted down next to the sketch. Her phone chimed with a news alert from a major financial network. Ascendair ASND stock surges 12%. As markets open, following confirmation of exclusive multi-year partnership with groundbreaking logistics AI firm Aeroglide Innovations. Analysts predict the move will save Ascendair billions and redefine air travel standards. Another alert followed. Disgraced influencer Karen Masterson's online platforms go dark amidst escalating backlash and sponsor exodus. A small, thoughtful smile touched Amara's lips. It was never about the downfall of another, but about the uplift of better ideas, better behavior. The world was full of Karens, of skim judgments, and casual cruelties. But it was also full of potential Brendas, capable of learning and growth and unexpected allies like Mr. Henderson. And it was driven forward by those who, like her, chose to build, to innovate, to meet ignorance, not with matching aggression, but with undeniable excellence. Her VIP founder's badge lay on her desk, no longer a defensive shield, but a quiet testament. It had opened doors, yes, but it was her intellect, her resilience, and her unwavering belief in her vision that would keep them open. Amara Washington was an architect of the future, and her ascent, along with Aeroglide's, was only just beginning. The flight to New York had been more than a journey. It had been a crucible forging new strengths, new alliances, and a renewed conviction that the best way to predict the future was to meticulously, thoughtfully, and courageously invent it. And there you have it, a journey that started with a simple request for help and spiraled into a masterclass in karmic justice, all witnessed at 30,000 feet. Amara's story is a powerful reminder that true status isn't about loud demands or flashy labels. It's about quiet confidence, groundbreaking innovation, and treating everyone with respect. Karen Masterson learned the hard way that underestimating someone based on appearance can have severe and very public consequences. What did you think of Amara's ice-cool takedown? Did Karen get what she deserved? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story of drama twists and ultimate karma, please hit that like button. Share it with someone who loves a good tale of poetic justice, and don't forget to subscribe for more gripping narratives. Your support helps us create more content just like this. Until next time, fly high and judge wisely.